Hi, welcome back to 5 is Prime. In this video, I'm going to be showing you an advanced way to find the least common denominator. So we're going to kind of break this into 3 different scenarios. The first scenario is when one denominator is a multiple of the other. There is something you need to do to find the least common denominator. In the second scenario, the denominators share no common factors. And in the third, the denominators share a common factor. So depending on which one of these 3 your denominators fall into, each of those 3 categories, you will do something different. So quick vocab review: denominator is the bottom number. Numerator is the top number. Denominator is the bottom number. Factors are the numbers you can multiply together to get a certain number. So like 1 and 12 are factors of 12. 2 and 6 are factors of 12. And 3 and 4 are factors of 12. Multiples, these are very much confused a lot of the time. Multiples are the numbers you're skip counting. So if you're skip counting 6, you go 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, and so on. These are multiples of 6. So in this first scenario, if you find that one denominator is a multiple of the other, this is what you do. So I like to have my students ask themselves, does the smaller denominator go into the larger denominator? So does 4 go into 12? Or they can ask, is 12 a multiple of 4? In this case, the answer to those questions is yes. So your LCD will be the larger denominator. It's going to be 12. For this next one, I have 2 and 8. So again, does the smaller number go into the bigger number? So does 2 go into 8, or is 8 a multiple of 2? The answer is yes, so my LCD is going to be 8. And for this last one, 6 goes into 18, and or 18 is a multiple of 6, so my LCD is going to be 18. Okay, the second situation is if the denominators show no common factors. And if you're unsure of this, you can take each of your numbers and you can list all the factors. So all the factors of 3 are 1 and 3, and all the factors of 5 are 1 and 5. We are not looking at 1 and 1. We're only looking at the other numbers. They don't share any factors. So in this case, we would multiply them together, and whatever we get would be our LCD. So in this case, it would be 15. For our next one down here, we have 9 and 14. My factors of 9 are 1 and 9 and 3 and 3. My factors of 14 are 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. They don't share any factors in common, so we would just multiply. And 14 times 9 is 126. So our LCD is 126. All right, next one, we have 11 and 2. And I know that 11 is a prime number, so I automatically know that we aren't going to have any common factors between 2 and 11. So I would just need to multiply those together, and I would get 22. So my LCD is 22. And for this last one, I've got 7 and 5. I know that the only factors of 5 are 1 and 5, and the only factors of 7 are 1 and 7. So I would need to multiply those 2 numbers together to get my least common denominator. So my least common denominator is going to be 35. All right, another tip for this situation where they share no common factors is if they're next door neighbors. If they are next door neighbors on the number line, we know that we just need to multiply those together to get the least common denominator. So 8 and 9 are neighbors on the number line. So my least common denominator 8 times 9 is 72. 4 and 3 are next door neighbors on the number line. So my LCD is going to be 4 times 3, which is 12. And same with 5 and 6. They are next door neighbors on the number line, so my LCD is going to be 30. All right, for the last situation, if I find that my denominators share a common factor, there are a couple different things we can do. So 4 and 6, I know that these numbers are both even, so I know that they share a common factor of 2. So if they're small like this, it's probably easiest to just skip count them and find the number that pops up in both lists, and that would be your LCD. So in this case, my LCD of 4 and 6 is 12. And for this one down here, 8 and 6, I can skip count those, 6, 12, 18, and I can do 8, 16, 24, and I'm going to need one more up here. So my least common denominator, would be 24. For this last one, 15 and 36, if we wanted to skip count 15 and 36 out, we might be here for a while because they're pretty big numbers. So in this case, you can do something called prime factorization, where you basically just take each number and you break it down into its smallest parts. So for 15, if I wanted to find the prime factorization of 15, I would have to first think of two numbers you can multiply together, so two factors that equal 15. And I know that 3 times 5 equals 15. 3 is a prime number, and so is 5, so I like to put a circle around it to tell myself that I'm finished with that number. And I can't get those numbers any smaller, so I'm going to leave them there. Those are my prime numbers in 15. For 36, I've got 6 and 6, and I've got 6 can be broken up even further into the prime numbers of 3 and 2. Remember, 2 is the only even prime number that exists. Same with 6. I can also break those into 3 and 2. Now that I've got all of my prime numbers here, I'm going to kind of list them out like so. So I'm going to do 3 times 5 would equal 15. And for 36, 3 times 2 times 3 times 2. I'm just listing all of these numbers that I've got in each of my rows here. Now you'll notice that I've got this empty spot here. I only want to put numbers that are the same value. Let's pretend these are columns. I only want to put the numbers with the same value in each column. I can't double stack those, so it's not like I could take this 3 and put it under here. There's only one number allowed per column. So now I can pull these down. So this is my 3 column. This is my 5 column. This is my 2, my 3, and my 2. Once I've got that, I can go ahead and multiply all these, and it will give me my LCD. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. 30 times 3 is 90. And 90 times 2 is 180. So my least common denominator is going to be 180. That would have taken a long time to get if we were skip counting those out. All right, I've got some practice problems down here. Go ahead and pause, solve these on your own, and then I will show you what the answer is. All right, so this first one, we've got 6 and 8. I know that 6 and 8 are both even numbers, so I know that they share a common factor. So that means that I am going to need to figure out what the least common multiple is. And for this one, it's going to be 24. For this next one, I've got 1/3 minus 2/18. So I'm going to ask myself, does 3 go into 18? The answer is yes. 18 is a multiple of 3, so I'm going to use 18 as my least common denominator. All right, we've got 2 more. We have 3 and 7. I know that 7 is a prime number, so 3 and 7 are not going to share any common factors, so I will just need to multiply these together to get my LCD. And my last one, 9 and 10 are next door neighbors, so I know that I'm just going to need to multiply those together to get my LCD. 9 times 10 is 90, so my LCD is 90. Alright, and that is the video on how to find the least common denominator with a few advanced techniques. I hope that this makes more sense, and I will see you in the next one.